Summary of taxes applicable to companies in Nigeria is what we'll be discussing today. This is C&V Advisory, and if you've not subscribed already, you should be doing that right now. Taxes are imposed and applicable to both individuals and companies in Nigeria, and that is what we'll be discussing today. So if you've not subscribed already, you can do that right now. So without wasting any time, let's get into it right away. As I said earlier, taxes are imposed and applicable to both individuals and companies in Nigeria. The Federal Inland Revenue Service (FRS) collects taxes on behalf of the federal government in Nigeria. And these are several taxes mandated by laws to be payable by companies doing business in Nigeria, which includes, but are not limited to, company income tax, stamp duties, petroleum profit tax, capital gain tax, value-added tax, personal income tax, withholding tax, industrial training fund tax, education tax, among many others. So it is important to know that failure to comply to pay any of these taxes, as stated above, when due attract to various penalties. Above mentioned taxes will be discussed briefly below. So the first one is capital gain tax. The governing legislation of the capital gain tax is the Capital Gain Tax Act. The FRS imposes it on companies with a charge that 10% of the company gains realized upon the disposal of chargeable assets. Then the next one is company income tax. The Company Income Tax Act (LFN) 2004 and Finance Act 2019 govern this particular tax. It is mandated to be paid by companies in Nigeria based on the profit made by the company. The company income tax is currently charged in three thresholds in accordance with the company's turnover as follows. A company with less than 25 million naira turnover pays 0% on profits. The second one, a company with a turnover between 25 million naira and 100 million naira pays 20% on accessible profits. Then the third one, a company with above 100 million naira turnover and pays 30% on accessible profits. Foreign companies not resident in Nigeria but with a fixed base in Nigeria are only required to pay company income tax on their income derived from Nigeria. For small companies in the manufacturing and export sector, the taxable profit imposed is 20%. If they have a turnover of below 1 million naira and are still within 5 years of operation. The next one is petroleum profit tax. The tax is governed by the Petroleum Profit Tax Act. It is levied on the profit of each accounting period of companies engaged in the upstream petroleum operation as regards company income tax. All companies engaged in petroleum operation are chargeable under the Petroleum Profit Tax Act. The petroleum profit tax rate is 50% for petroleum operation under the production sharing contract, 65.75% for non-production sharing contract operations paid in the first 5 years during which the company has not yet fully paid off all the pre-production capitalized expenditure, 85% for non-production sharing contract operation after the first 5 years. So let's talk about stamp duties now. Stamp duties are payable by the virtue of the Stamp Duties Act (LFN) 2004. The tax is imposed on documents and certain transactions. The stamp duty rate is dependent on the type of document and value of the transaction. Typically, when a document is executed between a corporate body and an individual, the tax is paid to the FRS, or where the document is executed between individuals only, the tax is paid to the State Board of Internal Revenue. Example of stamp duty taxable item is for incorporation of a limited liability company and power of attorney. Value-added tax. Let's talk about the value-added tax. This kind of tax is imposed on goods and services sold to the public. The tax payable
7.5%
on the supply of goods and services. It is governed by the Value-Added Tax Act. The next one is personal income tax. The tax is governed by the Personal Income Tax Act. And below are the schedule of chargeable income and the rate of tax to be paid. It is charged on the income of individuals and sole proprietors. To determine the tax rate to be paid, the simplified calculation is the income, expenses, and deduction. It is paid as pay as you earn by people in employment whose employer deducts the tax at source, and the option of self-assessment by self-employed individuals paid directly to the tax authorities. Personal income taxes are collected by various state internal revenue services. These are the tax rates under PITE. For chargeable income, first 300,000 naira incurs 7% rate of tax, and the next 300,000 naira incurs 11% rate of tax. The next 500,000 naira incurs 15% rate of tax. The next 500,000 naira incurs 19% rate of tax. Then the next 1.6 million naira incurs 21% rate of tax. Then above 3.2 million naira incurs 24% rate of tax. Next one is withholding tax. The law provided for withholding of tax from payments due to companies or individuals, whether resident in Nigeria or not, that provides goods and services to individuals or companies in Nigeria. The period for filing withholding tax is 21 days after the duty to deduct arose for deduction from companies. So these are examples of payments that falls within the category of withholding tax. For director's fee, rate for individuals is 10%, rate for companies is 10%. For consultancy and professional services, the rate for individual is 10%, while the rate for company is 5%. For dividends, interest and rents, the rate for individual is 10%, while the rate for company is 10% as well. For building and construction, the rate for individual is 5%, while the rate for company is also 5%. And for contracts other than sales in the ordinary course of business is 5%, and also 5% rate for companies and for individuals as well. So the next one is employee compensation deductions. The Employee Compensation Act 2010 imposes obligations on employers in both private and public sectors to deduct 1% from the monthly salary of its employees and remit it to the Employee Compensation Fund. In event of death, injury, disease, or disability of the employee arising in course of employment, the Nigerian Social Insurance Trust Fund (NSITF) board has the power to implement the fund. This employee compensation contribution is for the benefit and interest of everyone in any employment in Nigeria. The next one is custom and excise duty. The Custom and Excise Management Act (LFN) 2004 imposes a custom duty on specified imported goods and also restricts the movement of certain goods in and out of Nigeria. Any company involved in importation operations are liable to pay the tax charge ranging from 5% to 30% depending on the goods to be imported. So the next one is Industrial Training Fund deduction. This is governed by the Industrial Training Fund Amendment Act 2011. Every Nigerian company that employs 5 or more employees or having less than 5 employees but with a turnover of 50 million naira and above is required to contribute 1% of its total sum of annual payroll to the Industrial Training Fund not later than the 1st of April of every year. The ITF is established to utilize this contribution to the funds for skills and management, technical and entrepreneurial development in the private and public sector of the Nigerian economy. So the next one is education tax. This tax is imposed on every Nigerian resident company at a tax rate of 2% of all accessible profit for each year or assessment. It is payable within 2 months of an assessment notice from FRS. Some companies pay the education tax with their company income tax. So in conclusion, taxation is one of the most important sources of government revenue in Nigeria, and to meet its statutory obligation for ensuring economic development and providing security in Nigeria. So there are penalties that arise from refusal to pay all these taxes I mentioned earlier, and that when due. The FRS is empowered to impose punitive fees or even prosecute the tax defaulters. It is therefore advisable that the taxpayers comply with the relevant tax law and avoid sanctions or penalties. So this is where we draw the curtain today. I'm sure you've learned so much, right? So you can drop your questions in the comment section right now and follow all our social media handles as well. So see you some other time, and remember to subscribe, share, like, follow, and turn on your post notification as well as we drop more legal advice subsequently. So see you some other time. Bye.